Well, as you can see, we're back on the satellite. Figured I'd do a quick video, show you what we're up to today. So this car had like a lot of reconstruction. There's quarter panels on it. I think I showed them before. You can see how they're kind of, all those dark spots are highs and lows and whatnot. But anyway, what we're working on today, when we came back here, the back of the quarter seemed to be pushed in. So what had happened, yeah, there's some damage in here from something and no one knows why that's cut out. This car came to me built but not finished. So, explain what we're doing here. You've got these, I don't know, I'm going to call them taillight buckets. These go on the car. The problem is where they bolted in, there's a gap up here, and then down here it was touching the trunk lid. So when I set this corner nice, it all fits. But what happened was, between the fender and the bucket in here, the fender was like probably not a quarter of an inch, but it was quite a bit deep that way. So you kind of don't want to put that much filler in. But what I did is I took a straight edge and I checked all the quarter, and what had happened is, I guess to get it to fold around back here, instead of seam sealer they use silicone, which I don't. Anyway, that's just weird, but don't do that. That just sucks. Primer paint, nothing works with it, so that sucks. But anyway, so what I did, if you come way up here, you can see in here where the grinder touched it. And basically what I did is I cut a slice right down there, and then I took right down to here, and I shoved a couple big screwdrivers, just, you know, flats, and basically moved it out, and you just work it a little at a time. There was a spot here that was worse, and I basically just kept moving it out until it lined up with the bucket. The other issue we have, if you look right here, there's almost a peak. So they also pulled it down, which is why this is, I don't know if you can tell, but that's kind of bent out, which is why the grinder took the paint off there. Now, I'm not going to cut through the skin and raise that. The bucket's not that high here, so right here we can actually fill that out. This is the filler from where they put the quarters on, so basically I made that super duper rough. That's just going to get filled, and what I'm going to do is bolt the bucket on with the trunk lid exactly where I want it. I'm going to put a piece of tape on the back edge of the bucket here. So I'm going to fill that whole area, and I'm going to run a slightly bent straight edge across it to create the shape. I mean, I could just overfill it and board it too, but you know, you don't want to mess with that because it's that pop metal, white metal, whatever you want to call it. So we're going to prime those. You don't want to put a lot of fill on those, just fix like sand scratches, and that's about it. But anyway, you know, everything's got to fit. And when I put the straight edge even up here, like right here, it was like there was a corner that was slightly down. So we could split this and bring it up, but then we got to split the corner and get into a lot. I don't think it's that bad. Now this was really, really bad, which is why I did it. You can see how the welds are. They don't look real pretty, but that's not a big deal. So then what I did is I put the bucket back on before I ground any of the welds. So if you see where the marks are, so here there's a big mark because here there was some big welds that was way out past. Here there was a little dot. So when you grind it off, you can see a little edge there. I got to grind a bit. If you come here pretty much all the way up to here, it's smooth, smooth, smooth. You can still see this, but that's not going to do anything at all there. That'll be fine. But anyway, you see the mark here because here was really high. So we're going to grind that first. So basically I just put the marks, like here you can see these ones are high. I put a bigger mark there because that one's really high. So I'll get those down about first, and then you kind of sweep back and forth and make everything nice and smooth. And don't overdo it trying to get it in one shot. Basically do some, put the bucket back on. I mean, you're just putting it on and off by hand and holding it there. So once that edge is nice and straight, we're good. Then we'll rough this edge all up with 80, just like we did all in here and up here. Then we're going to fill that out. And we're going to put tape over the bucket. We're going to fill it out right to the bucket. And then later we'll block it and use a little bit of finishing putty. But I mean, this stuff is going to be... Gosh, we're not going to even hit 1/8 of an inch, so that'll be fine. But anyway, sometimes when you get these old cars, that's what you got to do to make things fit. And it used to be if you came down the fender like this, you can see down there how there's a little bit of a... Yeah, so there's an illusion because that's where the cutout for the bumper is. But it looked like the fender was kind of twisting in. And what had happened is when they put it on, they pulled it around too tight. And the funny thing is, I think I got a video on the door for this car, and they basically did the same thing with the door. They skinned it, and the door is basically corkscrewed. So I think what happened is they pulled it on way too tight. So I have that all loose, and I'm going to play with that and do a video on that later, but it is what it is. Someone did a lot of the jam work, but we had to knock some of the paint and stuff, Bondo, whatever, off. There's a thin layer of fill there. So this bucket is not as bad. It'll actually fit okay. Well, sorta. Right here will be a little low. And this is okay, but when you get down to here, you've got where it's stuck out. So what I'm going to have to do is come into this curve in here and smash that in, because even when I run a straight edge down here, right here is out. So we're going to knock this in here, so we won't wreck this, but by knocking this up in here, because, I mean, that's behind the bumper anyway, but we're going to fix it, make it smooth. But by knocking that in slowly, this will actually pull in, and this hopefully will pull in, because if you can see, yeah, that just sucks. So if that don't pull all of it in, it should pull most of it in, but once it's straight, whatever's left here, we're probably going to cut underneath the bucket again and pull that in. So at least everything can kind of round out and match itself. Again, this isn't a Barrett-Jackson showroom $1 million car. This is a guy's going to drive this. He's got collector cars. This is a driver. This was a $500 turd that the guy put new frames and floors, and I understand it should be done better than what it's going to be, but you know, people only have so much of a budget. The fender's going to need some work. The door's actually pretty nice. The primer will basically, a couple layers of primer will sand that smooth and it'll be good. Same with the fender. There's one little ding down there. The hood's got some work to do yet. The roof, we did a lot of work. It's mostly done. But anyway, that's it for this one. Thanks.